Russia's last warning for Zuckerberg's Metaverse. Russian hackers are no doubt called the best hackers in the world, and they have continuously made their presence known. In the latest reports, they have been threatening Mark Zuckerberg for his Metaverse universe. These Russian hackers were also behind last year's SolarWinds cyber espionage campaign. They have hardly eased up this year, and they have already managed multiple infiltrations of the US and allied governments. Presently, the hackers who are associated with Russia's SVR Foreign Intelligence Agency are still continuing to steal data that they think is relevant to Russia's interest. They are known to use stealthy techniques which aim at helping security professionals stay alert. SVR has hacked several government agencies, and companies are in smaller numbers than last year. During last year, more than 100 organizations were breached, and assessing the damage is difficult. The overall impact of these breaches has been quite serious. Many companies have lost their important data and private information to hackers. Not many companies are disclosing these incidents because they do not have to disclose everything legally. The worst part is that the Russian spying is happening mostly in the shadows of the US government. This year they threatened everyone through a separate, evidently noisy headline and grabbing cyber threat. The ransom attacks that took place were not launched by national state hackers but by some notorious criminals. According to reports, the Kremlin is known to protect these so-called hacker groups. The Mandiant who disclosed the SolarWinds also figured out with the help of Microsoft that the main group of hackers is called Nobilium. The hackers have continued to infiltrate the government agencies, foreign policies, and also the other organizations that are focused on Russian affairs and use the cloud services companies. Also, there are the so-called managed services providers they heavily rely on. The Mandiant gave a statement saying that the Russian hackers are continuing to adapt to new techniques and identify ways in tradecraft. It gives them an edge over the victim networks, and then they hinder their connections and then confuse their attempts to attribute hacks to them. Mandiant could not identify the individual victims or what kind of specific information was stolen. They said they would receive unspecified diplomatic entities. They would continue to receive malicious phishing emails, and they were among their list of targets. According to reports, one clever technique of the hackers has been identified and discussed. It is all about the cat and mouse chase game that the hackers love to play. The first step of these hackers is to set up intrusion beachheads in which they use IP addresses, and then they use a number designation that goes on to identify its location on the internet. It detects the locations that were physically located near an account they are trying to breach. Then after the same address block, you can assume it to be the person's internet provider. All this process makes it highly tough for any security software to detect the location of the hacker. Then they use the stolen credentials of the person, posing as someone else who is trying to access their work account from a remote location. The Cold War between Russian hackers and the US government has been going on for a long time. Many security and government agencies have claimed that the Russian security service has organized several denials of service attacks. It is all part of their plan to claim cyber warfare against other countries. In 2007, there were cyber attacks on Estonia, where multiple websites were targeted, including the Estonian Parliament Bank. The list went on to include ministries, newspapers, and broadcasters. In 2008, there were cyber attacks on Russia, South Ossetia, Georgia, and Azerbaijan. The cyber attacks took place 3 weeks prior to the shooting war. And this was the first cyber attack case in history which shook the world, where coordinated cyberspace domain attacks were synchronized with the use of major combat actions. It included warfighting domains which consist of land, air, sea, and space. One young Russian hacker got identified, and he said that the Russian state security services paid him for this. The boy's statement led to another cyber attack on the NATO computers. At this time, he studied at the Department of the Defense of Information. The FSB used to pay for his tuition. Later, many countries got targeted by Russian hackers, and they were Poland, France, South Korea, Ukraine, and Kyrgyzstan. For years, many cybercrime departments have tried to trace them, but they have failed every time. But one of the biggest wars the Russian hackers had was the United States of America. And in the crossfire of these Cold Wars, Mark Zuckerberg's Facebook got caught in the action. During the 2016 US presidential elections, Facebook detected that Russian government hackers are targeting the accounts of campaign professionals just before the elections. Mark later clarified that they did notify the RNC and DNC, not the individual presidential campaigns. He said, "I may have misspoken, and maybe technically that is called the committees, but I was referring to the folks in the election." The company founder spoke in a statement that they spotted the hackers' attempts to infiltrate, and then they immediately alerted the campaigns that the hackers are after them. There was also an incident where a mining company named Cambridge Analytica had somehow obtained the personal data of more than 50 million American Facebook users. Later, it was found that the data was collected through a seemingly innocuous quiz app. The Russian hackers working for the country's intelligence services had broken into the email accounts of multiple campaigns, party officials, and American politicians. Amongst them, some famous names were Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman, then former George W. Bush administration official Colin Powell. It is unclear whether the hackers were successful in their attempts to gain access to their Facebook accounts. In 2017, Facebook decided to retaliate against the hackers that were disrupting and destroying the social media platform's image. Facebook was tracking one of the Russian government hacking groups, whose name was APT28 or Fancy Bear. During that time, the company informed the FBI that these hackers were setting up fake accounts to spread misinformation. They were also said to work on an espionage operation. Generally, these social media giants are targeted by hackers to gain attention. Since these companies also have large security teams and users that can be targeted, they also have a massive amount of information about these hackers. Even Google has been tracking these Russian hackers for years. According to reports, these Russian hackers will not back down from targeting the USA. They are still collecting intelligence to plan for future cyber attacks. The USA security and intelligence agencies have been warned about these infiltrations. In a joint cybersecurity advisory, the FBI pointed out that these hackers as SVR generally target government networks, think tanks, policy analysis organizations, and information technology companies. The USA agencies and UK National Cybersecurity Center blamed the SVR for the SolarWinds supply chain attacks. The attack allowed the hackers to gain access to thousands of organizations with many government agencies. One common technique that SVR uses is that it uses password spraying. It means they attack weak passwords associated with any administrative account. These threat actors attempt to use small passwords infrequently to avoid any sort of detection by the user. To defend against this infiltration, the FBI and DHS have recommended the use of multi-factor authentication and the use of strong passwords. The FBI has also recognized these intruders use false identities and cryptocurrencies to gain access. Since Facebook has already been a target of these hackers, what will happen if they hack the metaverse? Does Facebook have that level of security ready to fight the world's best hacker teams? It has also put users in a fix as to what if they steal cryptocurrencies? How do you battle such stealthy people? According to reports, Russia is all set to sue all social media giants like Google, Twitter, and Facebook. They claim that these social media giants are failing to delete posts that are urging children to take part in illegal protests. If found guilty, the punishable crime is up to $54,000. The interesting point is these lawsuits were opened when the country witnessed the jailing of the Russian opposition leader. He was also a critic of President Vladimir Putin, whose name is Alexei Navalny. According to reports, he and his group of supporters have announced a 30-month sentence which was politically instigated. Then Russia went on to threaten Mark Zuckerberg's social media platforms of posing hefty fines if the company failed to restore the content posed by certain media outlets. The Russian media also accused Facebook of violating the rights of the citizens by not restoring their access to content. The Russian government, especially Putin, has always been accused of working with Russian hackers. Alleged rumors also say he told the Russian hackers to warn Mark Zuckerberg to stop making his metaverse universe. In a recent interview, Putin defended himself, saying, "We have been accused of all sorts of things." The president continued, "Elections interface, cyber attacks, and so on. But not once did they bother to produce any evidence or proof. They are just unfounded accusations." In April, Joe Biden went on to blacklist 6 Russian technologies that provide support to Putin's intelligence services. We wonder how Mark is going to react to such threats. We saw how the Russian hackers have infiltrated thousands of agencies, and their prime target has been the USA and Facebook. The social media platform also landed in legal troubles and faced tremendous criticism. They are also signs of the Russian government being involved in these cyber attacks. We will see how Russia's Cold War with the USA will affect Mark's metaverse dream. That was all about it. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more such exciting content. See you in the next video.